am the founder of Bugles Across America. Bugles Across America is a group of horn players, brass horn players, very similar to this, and trumpets and cornets. And what we do is provide live music in the form of a musical rendition of taps, 24-note musical heard at military funerals. It all started back in 1999 when I was doing a funeral at Fort Sheridan, Illinois, and I heard this rumor that the government was going to provide free funerals for all the veterans and their families. And a few weeks later, I heard about the fact that they had a recording of taps, and they were going to put it in a little container and shove it in what looks like a bugle in the front. The person holding that would keep it by their face and press the button, and taps would come out with the recording in the front. That's not exactly what I was hoping for, so I have a lot of horn players, and I know a lot more would love to do this. So I put the word out, and I started an organization called Bugles Across America.org. And pretty soon people heard about it, they signed up, and then we started doing the funerals. Instead of a recording, the families could have live taps played at the funeral. And they were very happy with that. And after 20 years now, we have done 120,000 funerals all across the United States and a couple foreign countries, all free for the families of the fallen. We do not solicit donations. I never sent out one request for people to donate. They just do it. And that to me is kind of like a small miracle. They like what we do, and they like the fact that they're not going to open their mail and will you give 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, or sign up to be this or that. We just do our thing and give a salute or a hug at the end, and the people love it. That was 1999, and I'm born in 1940, and I did my first funeral in Norwood Park at 10 years old, and many more. And then when the law in 2000 became effective, and they said, well, we're going to have a recording, and we'll have it in a bugle, something that looks like a bugle, and the military can use that. And even the military, though, they would rather have live taps than fold the flag and pick up this device and have the family hear a recording. I was in banking, and I worked for companies in Chicago like Baird and Warner, and small loan companies, and did local politics in the 41st Ward in Chicago. And then I moved to California and spent 6 years out there and worked. I got a call when I was at Beneficial Finance, working in the LA area, and I answered the phone, Tom Day, Beneficial, and the speaker at the other end says, "Hi Tom, this is Ronald Reagan." I thought it was a prank call, and I hung up. So phone rings again, Tom Day, Beneficial. "Tom, don't hang up. This is Ronald Reagan, and I need your help. I was in Chicago, and I talked to your dad, and he says contact you." So I says, "I'm sorry, and how can I help?" And he says, "I want to run for governor." So I helped him get people together like I did in Chicago with precinct captains and things, and he became the governor. and then he became the president. And I was honored to be able, once he was buried, and his monument there in California, I was the only other player to play taps at where he's buried. My family, mom and dad and 4 boys. So each one of my 2 older brothers were in combat, and it's my turn. So on the Marine Corps birthday, 1957, I was at Glenview, and my oldest brother was the senior master sergeant there. So he said, "Tom, you got to come out and see the Marine Corps birthday." So I went out there, and my brother said, "You know, if you join today, you get to cut the cake with the commanding officer." So I said, "Sign me up. I love cake." So I signed up in November 11th, and that was the Marine Corps birthday. And then I graduated from Taft High School in June, which is on the northwest side, and I got a fully paid trip to a place called Parris Island, South Carolina, for boot camp. And then after that, we only had a beach landing at Beirut, Lebanon, while I was in my 8 years of Marine Corps duty. Otherwise, I did funerals. I was a plane captain. That doesn't mean I was a pilot, but I checked the oil and everything on my A4D jet plane while it's running, and you roll underneath and check the oil, roll back out, and give the pilot to go. So that was my job in the air wing, and then they knew or found out that I knew how to do photography and set up a dark room. So the war was going on, and I set up the dark room at Glenview and did picture work also. I pray that the pandemic will be over soon and we can do more funerals, because basically there's a 10-person limit on your funeral party there. And sometimes the families say, "Well, I'm going to have to pass on the bugler because Uncle Joe wants to be at the funeral." So when it's over, we'll go back to we're there, and I can have a rifleman shoot the 3 rounds and do the whole job the way it's supposed to be done. Can I do it? And will the government let me? And they did. And I was going to do the funerals anyhow. But then they came around and said, "Thanks, Tom. We appreciate the help, and I don't get any kickback from any units, because if we show up, they don't have to use a recording." The Pentagon knows us, and they recommend us. And for example, a family in the DC area couldn't pay the funeral home, and they were getting static. And they said, "Tom, could you get the Elks to donate the money?" And the Elks couldn't do it, but I'm an Elk. And they called me, and I paid the balance on that funeral. And the family was very happy. Well, we lived next door to this house for 20-some years, and a lot of people that lived here were in and out, and it turned into kind of like a drug affair. And they asked me to do something about it, because I was the alderman, in fact, for this ward. And so I took care of that, and then finally it went to sale in the county. And I was doing a funeral that day, and I couldn't bid on it. So the the realtor who got it, he wasn't doing anything because every piece of metal in this building was stolen. So he said, I'll sell it to you. And I thought, boy, this could be my museum. And I bought it and painted the entire inside, outside. The lawn was 6 feet high. It was higher than me. And so I took care of all that. And now the people in the city of Berwyn came over, and they have designated this house a historic place in the city of Berwyn. They came through and they said, could we have it as a tourist place? So they put an ad in the paper, and they said, you know, maybe 10 or 15 people will come out and see it. So they advertised it, and we had refreshments, and 350 people lined up on the street all the way down to the park and beyond. And it was the biggest event for these houses. There are 6 of us, 6 houses in Berwyn with that designation, and never have they seen a crowd that big come through. It's a Bugle Museum. Bugles Across America, Bugle Museum. And what we have here is approximately 150 different kinds of bugles and horns, brochures on the beginning of taps, and it's all free. Nothing, we charge nothing for doing what we do. It's just, we want to do it. I hope that they'll remember the name, Bugles Across America, and Tom Day as its founder, for the next few years after I have a military funeral myself.